Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Marketing Monday. Today's top story concerns a blue dog named Bluey. Is a children's cartoon that has swept the globe. It is popular with kids, and I mean really popular. But it's not just popular with kids, it's popular with adults. It's popular with parents. It's popular with childless adults. It is popular with stressed, child-free adults in their 20s. It's changing parenting. It is referred to as the Office of our time. For the way the Office was 10 years ago, for parents were all watching Bluey.
And viewers like you.
And it is topping streaming charts as the #1 most viewed show in the world as of February of this year. For 2023, it was the #2 viewed show of the entire year, right behind Suits on Netflix, which is one of the most bingeable series in history. Bluey is incredibly highly viewed by people all over the world. And I want to give you a little bit of backstory and then explain why the business of Bluey is so important and why Bluey's billions might be causing one of the biggest business back and forths that we've seen in a while. Now, this is the guy you need to understand before we get into all this. His name is Joe Blum, the creator of Bluey. He is an animator that worked on Peppa Pig in the UK before finally deciding to return to Queensland, Australia to raise his family. And while he's there, he has the idea for a show called Bluey. And he makes a short 1-minute pilot.
Push me all the way round.
Okay.
Higher.
Bluey.
And that little pilot gets him in the room with a studio called Ludo Studios. And they decide, you know what? There could be something here. All right, it's cute. It's about the struggles of modern parenting told through a cute dog. We get it. We'll give you something like $16,000 to make the first episode. He makes the first episode. And again, Ludo gets control. They are the broadcast partner. He gets creative control. And then it goes from Tiny Ludo Ventures to Australian Broadcasting Corporation, ABC. Not the ABC you're thinking of if you're American. Australian. They pay a $6 million budget for the first season after seeing the pilot, and they, along with BBC Studios, which has a vested interest, gets the distribution and merchandising rights. Who cares, right? This is a little kid's show. At the end of the day, creative control rests with Joe Blum. That's what matters, okay? Within 7 months of its launch, it becomes one of the most watched series ever in Australia. It gets 75 million plays, which is huge for a prison nation like Australia. And it gets a second season, and it's good, all right? They're like, whoa, this is successful. Seeing this success, there's chum in the waters. All the big sharks start circling. This can no longer just stay in Australia. And that's when the biggest shark of all, Disney, shows the fuck up. They come in with a massive offer to beat all competing bids and get the rights to air Bluey everywhere but Australia, New Zealand, and China. They get distribution rights. Basically, it becomes, in effect, a Disney show everywhere but Australia, New Zealand, and China. All right, so Bluey premieres in 2019 on Disney Junior. This is its first real hit with the outside world. At the same time, around 2020, we get a little thing called the pandemic. Everyone's stuck at home. And we also get the release of Disney Plus. There's a release of Bluey on Disney Plus. Those two things combine to make Bluey a massive, massive hit. All right, it starts growing rapidly. Yet, Disney doesn't really want to promote it. Disney's still kind of iffy about it because it didn't come from them. They're not putting Bluey on the homepage. They just show Mandalorian and Loki and all the stuff they made. Disney is kind of, in a way, a little miffed that this incredibly profound piece of kids entertainment didn't come from them. They have the rights, but they're not using them. At the same time, Disney also, thinking they are the big dogs here, start meddling with the series and cutting out like fart jokes and anything that they assume is PG. They want it to be actually just G-rated to make it more palatable for what they see kids need to see in the rest of the world. Well, Joe Blum here, he doesn't have merch rights, he doesn't have distribution rights, he doesn't even truly own the show, but he has creative control. It's the one thing he still has. And he basically says, hey, you can't fuck with my show. This is not completely not allowed. We'll make more episodes if you do it. And so Disney relaxes. They re-upload the original show. They put it back to normal and it starts rocketing. It becomes the #2 most streamed animated show right behind The Simpsons on Disney Plus. Season 1, pretty flat. Season 2 starts to spike. By 2022, they're in love. After that, it starts to really fucking take off, and now it accounts for 29% of all views on Disney Plus. As we get to today, 1/3 of Disney Plus viewers are people just watching Bluey, which is again not a Disney property. They have spent hundreds of millions on their own shows and their own TV series, and it's all getting outperformed by their number one thing. For many families in America, for example, Disney Plus is nothing but a Bluey delivery vehicle. That being said, they did win the bid. They do have distribution. It's still good for them. It has been incredibly beneficial for Disney's subscribers, which is helping them grow and catch up to Netflix. Disney plus Hulu plus ESPN is now past Netflix, actually. Around 2022, Bluey joins the Macy's Day Parade, and that actually becomes a big flashpoint for a lot of people that are a little older, or parents that are a little older, who didn't know about Bluey and its success with kids, to start looking into this, because Macy's Day Parade almost never adds a new float. And so everyone's looking into it, and it causes another explosion in viewership. And there's like Bluey plays all over the world. Season 3, Part 1 is when it really starts to spike, hitting top 5 streaming programs, eventually hits number 1. Bingo visit the White House. They do the Macy's Day Parade again in 2023. Eventually it hits 1 billion minutes watched in just 1 week. August 2023. By late 2023, Bluey is now an unstoppable phenomenon. Hits just behind Suits for the whole year, which is again incredible. If you consider that Suits has 10 more seasons and is way more bingeable, and this is minutes watched, and Bluey has 7-minute episodes and only 3 seasons unfinished, that's fucking crazy. And now we're getting billions and billions of viewer minutes. In the beginning of this year, it's at all-time highs. Bluey is unstoppable. It is the 12th straight week with over 1 billion watch. It's the number 1 watch show in the US. Again, understand that. It is bigger than Reacher. It is bigger than Young Sheldon, Grey's Anatomy, This Is Us, NCIS. It is way bigger than Suits now. As of right now, Bluey is the number 1 show in America, and most people don't even know about it because it's made for kids. Now, the thing is, I thought it was just for kids, but it's also a millennial and Gen Z obsession. Millennials have doggo watch parties watching Bluey with their dog. There are Bluey fans that get Bluey tattoos. Dads across the country have started bandit groups based after the dad's name, where they talk about how Bluey taught them to be a better father. It's having a profound impact on culture. And I wanted to know, if something is that big, if a TV show is that successful, if merchandise is that valuable, who's profiting? For merchandise, it's the BBC. For that early small deal, when it was still local to Australia, they got merch rights. BBC Studios hits record 2.7 billion annual revenue, driven mostly by Bluey merchandise. Again, BBC Studios has never even hit 2 billion before. BBC Studios has become a Bluey merch company. They are planning to grow by double that in 2028, and a large part of that is because they expect Bluey to keep growing. Viewership profit goes to Disney. They won that deal earlier, has global distribution rights, and they are making money on the viewership and the subscriber sales to Disney Plus. Okay, when they keep raising Disney Plus prices and parents have to keep paying it, that's the benefit of them owning Bluey distribution. But control of the series still rests in the hand of the small Australian company Ludo and Blum. And that is a problem for these two companies, because they might want to do more than he will allow them to. Disney wants to do merchandising, creative, broadcast rights. Disney wants a Bluey theme park at Disney World. Parents who don't understand that Bluey is not a Disney show are actually openly complaining when they go to Disney World and don't see anything Bluey related. And so Disney is freaking out. They want Bluey movies. They want Bluey theme park rides. They want Bluey characters. They want this stuff. But the future is uncertain. Now, Bluey is currently valued at around $2 billion based on all of what I've said before. And the biggest person that is most likely to buy it is Disney, okay? But it has an uncertain future because this guy, Joe Brum, is an auteur. He got into it, as he says, for more personal reasons. Again, he hasn't made that much money from all this. Most of the profit from this show has gone to corporations that he sold the rights to early because he wouldn't have been able to make the show without it. He is doing it for the love of the craft. He is telling a story about his own daughters through these dogs and this story, and he doesn't have too much more to say. Based on his interviews, he has been saying that he's not sure whether he wants to keep working on this show. His daughters are growing up. He can no longer draw on their shared experiences. The child actors that do the voices are growing up. He doesn't want to recast them. So he's deciding what he wants to do, whether he wants to stop working on it altogether. Now, you have to understand, there is so much fucking money at stake for this one guy to throw his body in the gears and say, I'm stopping. Disney will send a hitman after him rather than let this die. They cannot imagine letting him just walk away. Now, the problem is, while Ludo does own the rights, and theoretically, they could buy it out through Ludo, not involve him at all, and start making it without him, there's a real fear from all of the big executive types that if they cut him out, is the show even going to be successful? Because it has been such a passion product. He has been so involved in every detail of the show. Can it possibly still be good? Especially if there's a public fallout. If he angrily walks away or talks shit on it, it's not possible to keep that level of quality. And right now, the last episode, which came out yesterday, I watched it. Yeah, I had to do my research. I watched The Sign, the first 30-minute Bluey episode. This is off the record for Marketing Monday. This is off the record. Ari's parents are coming over to watch our house while we go on vacation. And I hired some cleaners to help clean the house. The cleaners were cleaning around me whilst I sat there and watched Bluey. It was the most embarrassing. If I tried to switch it, it would be more embarrassing. So I just giga kept. The finale episode of season 3, which just aired, was called The Sign. And instead of being a goofy little 7-minute fun children's show, it was like a 30-minute serious emotional tale about the family of dogs here, the Healers, selling their house. It was very symbolic, as if the owner was saying, I'm thinking of selling my house, thinking of selling this show. No, I'm not gonna spoil what happens at the end in case you are a true Bluey fan, but it is telling a tale that I think is real life about this guy's struggle to decide what to do with this property. When you watch this episode, which is now aired, parents are freaking out because it seems like it's over. It really does, if you watch the episode, feel like a finale. And so immediately, the executive producer over at Ludo came out and said, no, don't worry. We'll be making more Bluey. In fact, he said something like, more Bluey stuff is coming. He's very non-specific because this guy can't actually say, but he just wants to calm tempers down to make sure people don't freak out and think it's the ending. Brum has not confirmed. He has not said whether or not he's going to make more Bluey. He has openly said he's thinking of quitting, but they are desperate to keep this Bluey train going. Here's where we leave ourselves. Disney is mad. They want more Bluey. And what I think is going to happen. Rewind. The brand's value is $2 billion, but could be as high as Peppa Pig, which sold to Hasbro for $4 billion. This could be a $4 billion deal. There's a lot of money at stake. I don't believe with this much money at stake, Disney is gonna let this stop. They're gonna find a way, as they always have. And I think we're gonna end up with what is a George Lucas situation. This is my prediction. As you guys know the story of George Lucas, Disney came in, gave him a $4 billion deal with the devil. To buy Lucasfilm. And during the production, during the deal making, they were all buddy-buddy. We love your vision for the future, George. But after it was over, suddenly they didn't want to hear about his scripts anymore. Suddenly they didn't really care. Once the deal was locked in, they kind of just told him to F off. They had no interest. And he admits it was a painful experience. Again, a little bit of rich white billionaire painful experience because you still made $4 billion and lived like a king. But he did creative control of his baby and thought that his 3 scripts would get used for 7, 8, and 9, and they weren't. However, due to the stipulations of the contract, he could not disparage the Star Wars stuff. And in fact, had to do all these stilted interviews where he talked about how great it was. And I think that's what's gonna happen. I think Brum here is gonna take a massive fucking deal to, quote, stay on in some way with Bluey. Disney's gonna get complete creative control, and he's gonna be in interviews talking about, yeah, it's great, I'm involved, even though he's really kind of moving off into the sunset. But if he really is truly a man who wants to throw his body in the gears, he could stop this. And it remains to be seen. We're going to find out soon as parents begin to clamor for confirmation of season 4. People want their Bluey merch, okay? I can't stream without my sippy cup. Because us Bluey fans want our slop. If we can't get more Bluey, then bad imitations are gonna start coming in. Like the Daily Wire, conservative news outlet's new announcement for a kids show, Chip Chilla. That answers the question, what if Bluey sucked?
Our first 3 kid shows are greenlit and in production as we speak. The first one you all know about, Chip Chilla. Chip Chilla is a hugely entertaining show about a family of homeschooling chinchillas.
They are homeschooled chinchillas because you can't trust the school system. It also has very traditional gender roles, in case you're wondering. What does Bluey think about Chipchilla? I've always wondered.
There are sometimes going to be things that get taken out of your hands, and you just have to roll with it. This US series called Chipchilla, which is just awful. That was I mean, it's just... Bluey,
Bluey's not a fan.
What do you think about that?
That being said, there is one more piece to this puzzle. Obviously, Chipchilla is terrible, but there is a massive rise in demand for any Australian animator that can pitch a show. I'm not kidding. TV networks across the world are just trying to mimetic imitate Bluey by finding anyone in Australia that can make a kid's cartoon. And what's crazy is the popularity of Bluey is so high that kids in other countries are developing an Australian accent.
Hey Logan, what'd you call that? You said where does what go?
Rubbish.
What are you gonna say to the bullies?
No.
Nor. How do you say no?
No. No.
Because they are binging so much Bluey, they are starting to use Australian slang. It's a cultural victory. It is Australia's largest cultural export in decades, dude. Thank you for watching Marketing Monday. Stay tuned for more on the business of Bluey. Thanks for watching.
Check it.